Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. We were looking at file handling, and in this video we are going to see how we can read the content of a file. So the first operation that we can perform over a file is the reading of the content that is written in the file. So we can read a file with the following four methods. The first one is with the help of a loop, that is the iterative method. Then with the help of read function, read lines function, and read line function. Just pay attention to the last two functions that are written over here. There is a little difference between the spelling of the both functions over here. Now let us see one by one how these functions actually work. So here, before writing any function in file handling, I have here constructed a file with the name my file, and I have written in this a few lines with a comment, right? So this is the content of my file, which is now I am going to read. So in order, so there are two ways of opening a file or actually creating a file handler. First is directly using the open function, and another one is with the help of with the keyword. So with open, here I will be writing as fp, this is my file object, and open is going to take two parameter. The first one will be the path or the full name of my file. So go to the properties, copy the complete location of the file, right? And in quotes, paste it. And the name will be my file.txt. Don't forget to change the slash. And here, because we are going to read the file, then the second argument will be the read mode. So comma in quotes R, because we want to open up the file and read it. Now the first method will be to actually read a file with the help of for loops. So for what I am going to do over here is use a for statement, loop variable as lines in FP. Yes, we are going to use FP as the sequence for our for loop, because FP, that is the file, can also be treated as a sequence and can pass inside a for loop, right? So now the next line will be the simplest line, print the value of lines, and here we will be giving an end argument with this. Now that is all. In the 3 lines of code we are going to read the content of our file. Now if I run the code, you can see on the terminal the answer is coming to be, you can see that I am comment and all the 8 lines are now been printed. So it is very easy to actually read the content of your line of your file simply in 2 lines of codes in Python. Now that was the first method, that is using the for loop. Now the next method will be with the help of read function, right? So here I will be just taking a variable as something to actually hold the returned value. What I want to read the content of FP. FP is my file object. So wherever I want to actually refer to my file, then I will be using FP dot read, and that's it. So whatever this read is going to return will be the content of my file, and that will be stored in lines, right? So the next thing will be to print lines as it is, and again the end clause like this. So if I just clear the screen, you can notice that the output of the read function is same as that of the for loop, right? So with the help of read function also, we can read the content of a file. The third method of reading the file will be with the help of read lines method, right? So just remember the spellings. I'm just changing it to read lines. Now, what is the difference with this read lines and how it is different? This is going to return a list. Now, that is the difference, that it is going to return a list, right? And even if I want to try and print the type of lines, lines is the variable which is actually holding the returned value of these methods, right? So here, if I now clear the screen and print the output on your, so you can see that here it is returning nothing but the list. And here also, if I can actually just remove it and then you can visualize it clearly. See what it returned. It returned a list of the lines that we have actually created in the file, and the type of lines variable is a list. So what it does, so what it did, it converted each and every line of my file into an element of my list and returned it on your screens. So that was the working of read lines. Now, the next one is read line function. Now, this is something very important and this difference counts a lot. Now, the next one is read line method, and I'm just making it as 1, right? Underscore 1. And I'm also going to make it underscore 1. Now, why I did it, you will be understanding in a few minutes because I will be running the code. And you can see, okay, it's S, right? And if I run the code, you can see that the first line is now been printed. That is, I am the comment. Now, if I again call this particular function on variable, let's say line 2, and now if I print line 2 over here and run it, the two lines are now been printed. So actually what read line does is it reads the statements written in your file line by line, right? So that is the difference between read lines. It returns a list, whereas read line reads the file line by line, right? So whenever you actually call, then it returns the actually the content line by line. Now that was all with the 4 methods of reading a file. Now let us go back to our slides and see some of the examples with which we can actually do the coding in file handling. Now let us look at some of the coding examples on reading a file. The first code that we are going to see today is write a Python program to count number of vowels and constants in a file. Right. So for that, let us move to our Python screens. Now before coding this example, I will be going to my file, and here I will be just changing the content of my file as my name, right? So in the first line, I will be having my first name, and in the second line, I will be writing my second name and just saving this file, right? So now what I'm going to do is I want to actually find out the I actually want to find out the total number of vowels and the consonants that are actually present in my file. So what I'm going to do is with open write as fp, and here I need the path. So for that I need the location, copy it, and in quotes paste it over here, and the name my file.txt. I need to change the slashes as well, so let me quickly do this. Now, as the file is opened in the read mode, so in order to find out the count of vowels and consonant, let me declare a variable, say vowels, that, and another variable, let's say consonants, and initialize it equal to 0, right? Because initially I haven't counted the number of vowels and consonant, let it be 0. Then what I will be needed is the text of my file. I need the content of my file, right? So I will be returning the content of my file with the read function in a variable known as text. Now, one by one, I will be examining the content of text and checking it whether the character present in it is a vowel or a consonant. So for that, I will be requiring a for loop. So let it be for character in text, right? What I need to do is if character in A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U are the vowels that are present in English alphabets. Now, if that is in one of these vowels, then what you need to do is vowels plus equal to 1. You are incrementing it by 1. Else, otherwise, they will be consonants. So, consonants plus equal to 1. Now that is we have actually calculated. Now that is it with the complete code, and I will be writing that vowels equal to how many vowels are there. I will be just printing the variable name vowels, and the second print statement will be how many consonants do I have, right, and equal to sign, and here the variable consonants. Now that is all with our code of finding the total number of consonants and total number of vowels that are present in my file. So if I run the code, you can see that the total vowels are 4 and total consonants are 9 in my name. So that is printed very fine. The next example that we are going to see is write a Python program to print even numbered line from a file. Right? So what I want to print is all the even number line from my file. So let us go back to the Python screen and see how we are going to program this one. So for this program, I will be again modifying the content of my file a little bit. So in place of my name, what I'm going to write is line 1, line 2. Let me just copy and paste it again and again. And just change the numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 and just save it. So I just want to print the even numbered lines right now. So what I'm going to do over here is I will be saying that let the line count, let me just count the lines, how many lines I have. So line underscore count, let it be the variable and let it be 0. So for lines in FP, right? So what I'm going to do is, so here I will be scanning each and every line, and with that I will be actually incrementing the line count, right? Now, what the next step I want to do is if the line count mod 2 is equal to 0. That means if the count of the line is 0. So what I did over here is I counted the line, right? So the first line, what is the number of that line? 1. 1 is odd number, right? So I won't going to print it. Then I'm going to count the second line. As soon as I got on the second line, I'm going to print it, right? Because the count 2 mod 2 is 0, that is even. So at that point of time, I'm going to print the line, right? Otherwise, I won't print it. So lines and the end keyword like this, right? So that's all with this code, and if I run this now, you can see only the even lines are now printed on your screen. If I change this, it is not equal to 0, sorry, not equal to 0, and if I now run the code, then all the odd numbers of lines are printed on your screens, right? So that was that simple. So that was the code that actually prints the odd or the even number of lines in file handling through Python. Now let us move to another example. The third example that we are going to see today will be write a Python program to read a file but omitting all the comments. So what we are going to do, we will be reading the file, we will be reading the lines from a file, but we are not going to print the comments that are present in it. And we know that in Python, comment starts with a hash symbol. For this example, I will be just modifying this file, my file name, that some of the lines will now start from a hash, right? So I am just commenting some of the lines and just saving it from my file. And you can see that I have just commented all the odd numbers of lines, right? Now let us see how we are going to perform this particular function. So I will be making use of a for loop because I need to scan each and every line in my file. So for lines in FP, what I'm going to do using a if statement, and if lines dot starts with function and with which I want to start, that is the comment. So if my line starts from an hash, that means it is a comment, right? So what I'm going to do is do nothing because I do not want to print anything when my line has a comment. Else what you are going to do, you're going to print the lines, right? So it's that simple. So I'm going to print the lines and the end function with nothing. Now let me run the code, and you know that I have commented each odd number of lines. So if I run the code, you can see all the lines which are not commented are actually been printed. Now next thing is, if I want to actually do the opposite, if I want to print all the comments, so let me just print the lines here and let me just make this as a pass, right? So if I run the code now, you can see that all the commented lines are now been printed. So that is how it is very easy in Python to read the files and perform different tasks using the different functions that we have already seen in the previous basic lectures of Python. So that was all in this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. So for watching more such videos on Python, stay tuned to my channel. Thanks for watching.